Founders of Alexandria. By Star Scribe. Part 7. Founders. Chapter 1. Adrian was alone in a world of pain. The spirit called odium pressed down upon his mind, trapping him in his worst moment, stretching into forever. Thousands and thousands of times Adrian watched that memory replay. The pain of the crash was bad, but it wasn't even close to the worst part. He saw the mare on the roof of the hotel. He heard her over and over, a hopelessness crushed by the weight of an uncaring universe. Nothing he could say made a difference. Eventually, when she thought he wasn't paying attention, she jumped. It was 10 stories to the ground. Enough time to try and catch her. Maybe it would have been if he had been a proper Pegasus, with cloudy skies as flying ability. Instead, he had been a pony just a few days. He could barely open his wings, let alone fly with them. He jumped anyway, tried to catch her. He didn't. She died. Over and over she died, and he lived. He lived his broken wing over and over again, though that wasn't the worst part either. The worst part was the sound her body made when she hit the ground. Pegasi landed soft. Unicorns didn't. He had scrubbed the blood off his body till it bled, but never felt clean after that. You failed to live on your own, the voice told him, over and over. Those around you suffered. With me, you will not fail again. You would have caught her if I was guiding you then. He had not believed the voice the first time, or even the 100th. In the end though, everyone would bow before the might of odium. His rulership of Earth would be absolute, nothing could defy him. And Adrian believed that, too. He saw Oliver captured, watched his brave struggle against the voice of hatred. Watched his medical detachment and the will to fight death in his own way crumble. Oliver had bowed before the might of odium, and his will too was now subject. All humanity would serve, and there was nothing any of them could do about it. It was as inevitable as the tide. With no contrary evidence, Adrian stopped fighting. Odium gave him more and more freedom the more he was willing to believe. After all, a servant was more useful when he wanted to obey. Obedience meant he could act again, and so he obeyed. It was simply the way of things. When Alex came, he fought with every pony else. Something struck him in the chest, something that felt like being hit with a baseball bat. Nothing broke, though it was a near thing. He was stunned with pain, unable to act for nearly a minute. Then there was silence. Odium's voice vanished from his mind, and he was left alone. Alone with the agony of a gunshot. Adrian hurt too badly to do anything other than wish it would kill him. Maybe it would, maybe that was why odium had abandoned him. He was no longer useful. The instant the red started to fade, odium was back. He demanded that Adrian rise, and so he rose. The pain burned at him, but it wouldn't be enough to stop him. The spirit demanded service, and so service was what he received. Adrian hardly noticed as his influence began to fade. Enough of it remained to remind him that resistance would not help. Enough to bring the crushing weight of inevitability down on him. He heard voices from within the library, but those voices were not for him. Odium demanded nothing more of him but stillness, so stillness was what he gave. Then True Sight was there, standing in front of him and looking worried. She said something, but Adrian didn't hear it through the haze. The conversation was not for him, and so odium had taken sound from him. It wasn't as though his ears were gone, or they had ceased to be sensitive. Just that whenever he tried to listen, whatever he heard suddenly became unimportant. Then she was gone, replaced with someone far more precious to him. Riley. He wanted to scream, wanted to warn her to turn and run as fast as she could. Odium knew his thoughts, he would know she was here. If he ordered Adrian to fight, he would fight. If he ordered him to kill the girl with his bare hooves, he would. He wouldn't have a choice. He felt the cool touch of the changeling's chitinous horn against his chest, then the sharp pain of her teeth. He ignored it. Ignored it with all the force he had. Odium was spread among many ponies, and not focusing on him. If he didn't seem interested, if he made himself as bored and focused on the pain in his chest, maybe he wouldn't be forced to do anything. The mist on his mind began to clear. The grey around his heart began to fade, as passion boiled it away. He loved Riley, he loved the ponies of Alexandria and the world they had come from. He loved clear skies and watching hockey games and action movies. He might love cloudy skies, he wasn't sure about that one. Yet most of all, he loved being able to make a difference. Being able to try. "What do I do?" "Whatever you want," Riley whispered. "You're free." He was. "It's going to try and take Alex. You can't let it." They needn't have worried about fighting the other ponies on their way in. Like him, they had been frozen on their hooves. Like him, even a major threat didn't seem to register. Odium's attention was elsewhere. He noticed something else on his way in, though. A squawking radio, resting on the ground beside the largest piece of the APC. Evidently Ryan hadn't noticed it, or else hadn't cared. Adrian scooped up the earpiece. "Damn it, I need to know what to do, pony." "You shouldn't have." Adrian recognized the speaker's voice even through her anger. He cut her off. "Taylor, this is Adrian." The other end went abruptly quiet for several seconds. "Hello, Adrian," she eventually said, voice thick with suspicion. "What have you done to Alex?" "She knows they got to me," he thought, frustrated. He cast his mind about for a solution, but he didn't have to come up with one. Riley was there. She tugged him down by the shoulder with surprising strength, taking the headset off his ear. "Taylor, Adrian's good for the moment. I got the parasite out of his head." Adrian could only hear the other side of the conversation because Riley kept her head purposefully close to his. "Riley? Alex told me you'd got away. What are you doing there?" "Getting my friends." She sounded exasperated. "Look, Alex is still in there. I know you've got drones watching us. Use them and look at us. Adrian's not stiff like the others, see? He's one of us. I'll get our other ponies too, gimme a minute. They haven't been captured as long, so I think it'll be easier. I think I've got a little juice left." She passed the headset back to him in her flowing magic, and he took it. "What the hell is going on over there, Adrian?" "Something tore my APC to pieces, and it was running a CPNFG. Granted, it was a little bitch compared to the ones we use for aircraft, but the alternative would be making an APC large enough for a Nook." She cut herself off. "Question stands. What's going on?" "Odium is riding around in the pony named Night Speaker," he explained. "He's got way more powerful magic than a unicorn should because of it. I think he broke your APC." Alex had already left, though. "She's inside." Little Riley was curled up into a limp ball in front of Joseph. As he approached, he heard her mutter. "Didn't have enough for Mariah, sorry, later." "You did fine, Riley." He reached her side and bent down to stroke it once. "You've done enough. Rest." He helped her into a corner, even as he watched the intelligence return to Joseph's eyes. His recovery was far swifter than his own had been. Yet even as he touched her, some energy seemed to flow back into the little pony. The fog cleared from her eyes, and as she rose, he watched her change. Horrifying wasn't quite the right word, particularly after all that he had seen. Unnatural? Yes. Disquieting? Sure. But it was no stranger than her appearance. It took her only seconds, and she'd grown and grown and grown, returning to the body of true sight. "Where is Alex?" Adrian asked, just as Taylor asked it in his ear. He scanned the room, but didn't see Alex or Ryan or Abrams for that matter. There might be other ponies missing too, he hadn't yet learned the faces of all the newcomers that had been hiding themselves away. Just a ruined library floor, wrecked furniture, and the stairwell leading down. Down those stairs Adrian's eyes could not pierce the darkness. Joseph gestured. Down there. We need light. His horn lit up with a faint glow, and he started forward. Not yet. The ponies up here are stunned. Get their guns away and follow me. There was a fight going on down there, but he wouldn't leap in blindly this time. He had done that in Niagara, and it had only ended with death and a broken wing. This time he would be prepared. Did you ponies have a plan? Joseph spoke as he worked, levitating each firearm or knife he could see out into a growing, glowing cloud in front of him. Alex was supposed to draw every pony here while Mariah and I destroyed whatever thing Odium was hiding in. Turns out it was hiding in a pony. Mariah attacked him, even though Alex told us not to. You saw what happened? Yeah. Adrian gestured at the empty space behind a return desk, out of sight unless you walked right up to the desk and looked behind it. He took a lantern from the desk even as Joseph piled the weapons of the cult ponies behind it. I don't know why it's just letting us do this. He sounded nervous. Odium is vast. It could control thousands of ponies at once if it wanted to. Even if it doesn't need them for whatever it's doing, shouldn't it be using them to stop Riley from getting us free? He froze. A gunshot rang out then, and Adrian turned to race towards the stairs. Taylor broke the silence. I'm en route with Alex's backup plan. It's about 2 minutes away. Ask Joseph if he thinks it'll work. He did, and Joseph frowned. Not if we let it get away. He darted down the stairs, lighting up his horn as he went. There was only one living pony at the bottom of the stairs. It was like Niagara all over again, and the proximity to his torturous memories nearly made Adrian lose control of his stomach. He held it in, but only just. There were 2 bodies, and standing only a few feet from them was Alex. Darkness boiled about her, burning from her eyes and out her ears and her mouth, as though a cloud of malevolent smoke was trying to choke her. He supposed that was exactly what was happening. It needs a new host. Joseph exclaimed from beside him, seeming detached from the carnage at the base of the stairs. It wouldn't need this much to take one of us. For some reason it looks like it's pulled in almost all of itself. Why? Adrian frowned down at the cloud, puzzled. She's just a teenage Earth pony. There isn't anything we can do, is there? She's going to lose. Adrian had felt what Alex was feeling, though even then it had only been a small fraction. When Odium had taken his will, it hadn't had to freeze its other followers to take more of its power away. If it had, he shuddered to think of the agony Alex must be experiencing. Within her mind, it would be seizing onto every reason she hated herself, every failing, and twisted until she bled. Would there even be any of the real Alex left when she emerged on the other side? Could Riley save her too? To his surprise, it was Riley's voice that spoke from the stairs. She barely stood, her limbs shaking with the effort, but she fought on anyway. She won't lose, but we still need to help. When she kicks Odium out, we need to make sure he can't go anywhere. Do either of you know how? She no longer sounded like a fearful child. She sounded like a confident ruler, without the slightest hesitation about being obeyed. She sounded very like Alex might sound, if she had been a freaky bug with a freaky voice. We have to let the light in. Some pony get a mirror. There are big ones in the bathrooms. Adrian turned, happy to be helping while simultaneously getting as far away from the carnage at the base of the stairs as he could. Joseph joined him as he kicked the locked bathroom doors open. Together they unscrewed the mirrors from the wall, using scrap metal and unicorn magic. Adrian opened all the blinds, working out the best angle to reflect the most light downstairs. With 3 mirrors and a little cleverness, they could get some serious light down there. He could only hope it would be enough. Plan B, inbound. 20 seconds. What is that? Adrian held one of the mirrors, while Riley propped up another and Joseph levitated the last one at the necessary angle. It was very strange, Adrian had never seen sunlight so bright. The sun blasted past him like the blazing heat of midsummer noon, though it was November. He had to look away, lest he go blind in the brilliance. Through his peripheral vision, he could see the brilliance flood down the stairs, lighting up the basement like a star. He felt strength in his limbs that was not his own. Good, he thought, though he wasn't sure the thought was his. Brighter. In the light of the sun, Alex's body was all that remained. Only thin wisps of shadow radiated from around her, cowering behind her and away from the light like a snake. Was he only imagining it, or was the light stretching to fill the space, reflecting off stone and concrete as though it were polished steel? There was nowhere to hide. He heard Taylor's answer right as engines roared from overhead. "Your hummingbird. Field ain't running, but it's about to be." Alex opened her mouth to scream. "Get out!" Adrian knew resisting odium was futile. He had experienced what it was like to have only a fraction of its mighty will pressing on him. Alex had faced all of it. Yet out it came, darkness pouring from her mouth and her eyes and everywhere else, pooling like tar at her hooves. Much of it burned away as the light touched it, save for a pool of the deepest, thickest filth, which started to snake away behind her into the basement. Closed range, engaging projector. Adrian felt the chill of the HPI's thermic field neutralizer, the same one that let them survive in a world now hostile to human life. He had felt it before, but never like this. It was as though gravity was suddenly pressing on him, crushing him to the earth with a relentlessness he had never experienced. The strength that had filled his limbs vanished abruptly, leaving him entirely on his own. If he dropped his mirror, half the light that flooded into the basement would be gone. He didn't drop it. Joseph did, glass falling to shatter from levitation that suddenly no longer worked. Thank God for Riley's quick thinking, or else they would have lost the light entirely. Ponies all over the room began to quake and tremble. Some screamed, some whimpered, one tried to run out the door, only to stumble and trip over herself before she could. Of course, the greatest change came from below. Alex's strength waned at last, and she collapsed into unconsciousness. Behind her, the serpent made from darkness spasmed and convulsed. He heard screaming that burned his ears even though he didn't speak the language it used. The creature began to boil away like dry ice on a sidewalk, popping and sizzling and radiating a fine mist. It took only seconds before it was gone completely. Odium was dead.